Hello everyone and welcome to Victoria's Cantina. Today we're going to be taking a look at the latest wave of Star Wars The Vintage Collection figures by Hasbro, featuring Teebo, IG-11, Lando Calrissian, and the Emperor. Guys, I'm ecstatic about this wave, probably more so than the Ahsoka wave even though I was really jazzed about those figures. We've needed a new Lando and a new Emperor for ages on end, and finally we have them. Of course, IG-11, really exciting release from The Mandalorian, and then there's Teebo. But this almost never happens. I was checking Instagram and Twitter and saw that these were starting to make their way into stores, primarily on the West Coast. I'm on the West Coast. So I jumped onto BrickSeek, saw that my stock numbers at local Walmarts were jumping up. And between two different stores, I was able to put together the entire wave. And again, that almost never, ever happens, especially in my area. So we're going to take a detail-oriented analysis of Teebo, IG-11, Lando Calrissian, and the Emperor, or the latest wave in Hasbro's Star Wars The Vintage Collection line. Let's kick things off with Tebow the Ewok. I love Ewoks. I say the more the merrier. If Hasbro just wants to make Ewoks for an entire year in the Vintage Collection, I'm okay with that. No, not really. But I do like Ewoks. And it's cool to see another Ewok in the collection. Now, this isn't completely brand new. Those of you who are collecting during the Legacy Collection years may recognize this particular Teebo from that era. When Toys R Us was doing those really great multi-packs that they were selling in their stores, this version of Teebo did previously come out before. So this is coming back to the line. It isn't exactly the same. There are some modifications to it, but it isn't a completely brand new figure. That said, I don't have that previous Teebo. Contrary to popular belief, I don't have every single Star Wars 3 3/4 inch action figure ever created. I have 95% of them, but not all of them. And this is one that I did miss previously. I do have the Teebo that was released during the Saga line back in 2003, 2002, somewhere in that time frame. So this is cool. Packaging is really nice. Definitely recreates that vintage card. And I think it looks really nice. I think that it's a really nice looking card. Art looks great. And the character looks great. And the figure looks great. At the back, basically we have a recap of the figures that are available in this wave. This is VC207. And here are some of the more recent figures that have been released in the Vintage Collection or re-released in the Vintage Collection. There is the UPC right there's. All right, let's go ahead and get them open. So anytime we get more than one Ewok in a calendar year, I think is pretty good. So I'm glad that we have another chance at another Ewok. Like I said, make them all. A grand army of the Ewoks is not anything that I would say no to. And this looks really good, guys. I think it's a very nicely sculpted figure. It does date back to an earlier time, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, I think, especially when it comes to Ewoks. There's only so much you can do with Ewoks in some cases, I feel like, that I don't feel like it needs to have Jedi articulation, as my friends over at Bantha Skull refer to it. It's just not really necessary here. I think that he's adequately articulated, and you do get plenty to enjoy with the figure. Just proportionately speaking, I think that they did a really nice job with Teebo, making him look like an Ewok. It's kind of hard to find words here because it is exactly what it needs to be, in my opinion. I don't really think that they needed to do a whole lot. Reissuing older Ewoks, if it makes sense, get it done. If we're talking figures like Luke Skywalker, Emperor Palpatine, Lando Calrissian, Princess Leia, all those guys need to have brand new sculpts. There's no other way around it. But something like this, I think, is pretty well served by utilizing the best of what Hasbro currently has in their inventory. And yeah, he looks really good. Just talking about his likeness, bringing him up close here. So they did implement photoreal on him, just like they did with Wicket last year. And it looks pretty nice. The eyes are a little bit glossy, so, makes sense. Nicely sculpted fur detail. There's not a whole lot of wiping or washing going on, so you're not going to really see any highlights, but it is painted very nicely. So maybe it's better to be a little understated than overstated. I think it looks really good. It's got everything that you need is there. He's got his little hoodie. His bullhorn is permanently affixed. These pieces are very pliable. You can see they move around really easily. And then I really like how he has this detail here of the little, what is it, like a hog of some sort with some teeth and some tusks. So that is pretty nice. And as you saw, this little piece right here does come off. If you want to plug it back in, you just plug it back into that hole right there. or don't use it at all and create a new look for your figure. So speaking of new looks for your figure, this piece is intended to come off of the figure. So you just kind of need to, and you know, be delicate with it. I feel like if you were a little harsh with this, given how soft this rubbery plastic is, that maybe it could be prone to breaking. So I would say just use a little bit of care when you're working around the figure to remove it from him. So after you get it over the arm, and then just kind of work your way around the heads. We'll go ahead and grab some of these interchangeable clothing pieces that Teebo comes with. So right here, he does have this sash that just comes over his shoulder right there. That other piece with the bullhorn that we removed, we'll go ahead and bring it back. We'll bring it back. Let's put it on this side right here, just like that. We'll go ahead and grab the teeth right here. Necklace made out of teeth. Put that around his neck. Well, I guess Ewoks don't really have necks, or at least this one doesn't. And then we'll pop his head back on like that. So don't Ewoks look so interesting without hats on or hoodies on? He just looks like a big, cuddly teddy bear. That's fun. So the other piece that we have here is this mask. The mask is not too dissimilar from the other mask that he's already wearing out of the packaging, except that it doesn't have the lower parts of it right here on the front. Okay, so it's a little bit different, even though aesthetically it's very similar. So you're going to take this and you're going to put it around his head just like this. And there you go. You've got his alternate look right there. So there is also a knife that comes with the figure. We're going to take the knife right here and just slide it into the sheath right here that he has on the side. Just like that. And then this little headdress feather piece, just like you saw in the other mask that came off just by looking at it wrong, will also go back in here like this. So you can just grab it and just kind of apply pressure until it goes back in, kind of like that. So please stay in there. And then you have his alternate look for Teebo. And I think it looks really good. I'm not sure that I have a preference. I'd probably display him like this personally. I guess if you really wanted to, you could buy another Teebo and then, you know, display him the other way. But I rather like the way he looks like this. So Teebo comes with 3 separate accessories. You do get these 2 drumsticks right here, which is a pretty nice inclusion. And then you also get this hammer right here, or this tool that he uses. It's like a rock tied to a stick. So I'm sure it's very useful. So whether you want him to be armed as a killer teddy bear or you want him to be armed as a musical teddy bear, he handles his accessories just fine. So in terms of articulation, he does have a ball joint here at the head, so you do get some okay movement there. Here at the shoulders, insert molded joints, they rotate, they swivel up and down. The bend here at the elbow isn't the best. You can rotate it as well though. There are rotations at both of the wrists. Here at the midsection, you do have a swivel right there. You do have insert molded joints at both of the hips. They go forward. And then here at the feet, the ankles, you can move those down. You can move them up. You can rotate them as well. So again, he gets the job done. I don't really think he needs to have more articulation than what he's got. All right, now we have IG-11, one of the more memorable characters from season 1 of The Mandalorian, and there were a few. And it's really cool to finally get this character in the line. It seems like it's been a long time coming, but here he is, almost 2 years after The Mandalorian was released, and we were introduced to this awesome character. So packaging, as you can see, they went with a yellow background, yellow name pill. Not too dissimilar from IG-88. We have a nice image of the character from The Mandalorian on the card, and he looks really good. I really like this picture. I'm glad that it looks to me like they used a still from The Mandalorian, perhaps. It doesn't look like obviously like photoshopped or anything like a lot of them do these days, so that's really nice. Figure, as you can see, looks really good. And then at the back, this is VC206. VC206, and there are the other figures from this wave. There's the UPC right there in case you want it. And yeah, let's go and get them open. All right, you guys, so here is IG-11 out of the packaging, and this is a neat figure. This is a really neat figure. I think that if we had to wait for it to be this good, rather than a retooled IG-88, like what happened with the Black Series, then I think it was definitely very well worth the wait. But he's here. He's here. Let's talk about the figure. I think proportionately, he looks really, really good. He's tall, he's lanky, and he's very detailed. Very nice looking figure for sure. I think that all of the details, the bells and whistles are all present. There's not a whole lot I can really say about the figure in terms of what they could have done to make it better. I just feel like he's really, really solid. He seems to balance pretty well for the most part, and he's got lots and lots of articulation, lots of joints. There's a lot to see here. I like the coloring on it. I like how he does have some parts of his metal that are more like flat, and then some parts that are more metallic, like his shoulders right there. You can see kind of have like a copper look to them. And then there's just different shades of these different metal parts. Like the arms are a little bit more almost like a rose gold color than the shoulders, which are definitely more copper. And the head is a little bit more of a lighter sort of gray than the deeper shades of gray in his lower extremities. There's just a lot going on here. The wires, everything looks really, really cool with the figure. So taking a close-up look here at his head, you can see that he does look really nice. He's got his eyes right there. I would say that the eyes sort of get a little bit lost. That's a minor nitpick, but the eyes do get slightly lost when you're looking at him straight on. You can see them there, but just like from here, I feel like they could have painted them slightly different, even if it wasn't necessarily accurate. Maybe if they would have just done a deeper color, it would have maybe showed him a little bit better. Also, the little lights around his head, you can see he does have, there's supposed to be lights. Are there. They're not very bright though. Perhaps I would have brightened those just a little bit, more of like a lighter orange color. But the rest of the figure, the detailing is superb, you guys. It is superb. Everything about the figure aesthetically is quite gorgeous. The bandolier is a separately sculpted, very rubbery plastic piece. From what I've seen in stores, sometimes these little silver pockets or patches or whatever you want to call them aren't painted perfectly. So if you see multiples, be sure and check that out before you buy. But again, just everything, the pistons, the joints, all that stuff is very well executed on this figure. Very well done on this figure for sure. So in terms of articulation, this is one of the areas where this figure absolutely shines. So he has multiple joints here at his head. So you can see here this top conical piece that rotates independently of anything else, just like that. Then this piece right here above the eyes also rotates like that. Okay. Then the eyes rotate separately from all that as well. And then the whole head rotates. Like, that is pretty amazing. I didn't expect he was going to be that articulated. So they really did a good job with the head. Here at the shoulders, so you can kick them out like that all the way. And then if you want to get them to go forward, just bring it back in and move it like this. It will move with the shoulder. So there are two things going on here. There's an insert molded joint here, and then there is a rotation here at the cusp that goes around his upper arm. Okay, so you can swivel his elbows right here. Now, these are very thin joints, so be very careful. You can bend them though, and they bend pretty well. You get a full 90 degrees there. You can also rotate his wrists, if you want to call them wrists. You can rotate him here at the torso. Here at the hips, they do kick out all the way. Check this out. Check this out. That's pretty awesome. Full range of movement right there. And these joints are just great. These joints are great. You can also move them forward all the way as well, like that. You get swivels at both of the thighs. Now the knees also will bend all the way, and they will rotate as well. And then here at the ankles, if you want to call them ankles, they do move quite a bit. So you can swivel them forward and back. He's on his tippy toes now. And you can rotate them as well. They don't pivot, but they seem to do pretty well. They seem to do pretty well. Guys, I'm really blown away by the articulation on this piece. I mean, it's a really nice figure. It's really nicely engineered. And I just got to give Hasbro kudos for taking their time and knocking this one out of the park on the first go. That doesn't happen often. It happened in this case. IG-11 comes with two blasters. Here's the standard Imperial-like blaster that he has here. Kind of the Rogue One style with the little magnifying scope thing
there on the side. I know you guys criticize my gun knowledge. I don't really have gun knowledge, but here is the rifle that he has on this side right here. And yeah, it's a little bit, it's not quite as long as we've seen on IG-88 before, but it definitely works. And he does hold these guns very well. You'll just need to look at the fingers and kind of line them up. So put the gun in, and then he has a trigger finger right there that you can just wrap around the gun like that. And then the same thing with the other one. You just need to find like the sweet spot for it. So put it in his hand. Need to rotate it. Put it in his hand, and then rotate the trigger finger around the trigger of the gun, just like that. And boom, now he is ready to go into battle. You guys, there are so many possibilities with this figure, just in terms of the way they articulated him. Your posing options are pretty limitless. You're only limited by the extent of your imagination. And thankfully, this is a very nicely engineered figure. It looks excellent, great accessories. It's everything it needs to be, and then some. I'm really pleased with this one. It's going to be kind of hard for any other figures that we look at in this review to top IG-11, but we'll find out.
All right, here's a very exciting release for the Vintage Collection. Probably should have come out last year during the Empire Strikes Back's 40th anniversary, but whatever, he's here now. So hard to argue with the fact that we finally got him, even if we had to wait a little bit longer. And here he is. Lando Calrissian is one of my favorite smooth-talking, cool, laid-back characters. He's just awesome. I love Lando. And this figure is a long time coming. Back in 2004, we got the Vintage Original Trilogy Collection Lando, and that figure had swivel elbows, and that figure had diagonal swivel elbows, and everyone that I know that had that figure, the torso on it yellowed over time. Torsos just turned yellow. Mine got so bad I had to just throw it out. Honestly, it was really unfortunate. So finally getting Lando in the Vintage Collection, brand new 3 3/4 inch scale figure, is tremendously exciting for me. And you can see that the card is very nice. It definitely recreates that vintage card. Also the VOTC card from 2004, very similar. Lando looks really good, guys. He's looking really good. I'm really excited about this figure. And here at the back, this is VC205. And you can see the other figures that are available in this wave. Here is the UPC right there in case you need it. And all right, let's go and get this smooth-talking smuggler, pirate, gambler, business owner, administrator, rebel hero out of the packaging.
All right, here's Lando Calrissian, and there's a lot to love about this figure. There is a lot to love about this figure. Proportionately, he looks really good. I think that they finally got the body right. He's like not too thin and skinny, and he's not, you know, too overweight or anything. Like, he looks exactly like Billy D looked in the film. And that's a really cool thing. You do see all the points of articulation. They are a little bit more obvious than they have tended to be in the past, but we are getting more articulation with these figures, so that's not completely to be unexpected. Now, I do have a little bit of an issue with the way that the cape drapes around him. As you can see, that's about as far as you're going to get it to go around him. It is stitched in the back, and you can't get it to display any further than that around like his arms or anything. So I kind of feel like plastic may have been ideal, just like they did with Moff Gideon last year. I would have preferred to have seen that here, but, you know, if it were going to be soft goods, I guess, you know, there could have been worse options. It is like a double plied sort of material, so it does have that dual tone look to it. On one side it's blue, on the other side it's got like a pattern, like almost like a marbly looking granite sort of color. And it's a nice looking figure. It's just like the cape, to me so far, is like the only major shortcoming I can really talk about. And like I said, it is stitched at the back, so you can kind of see there where it's stitched, and that's just to give it a little bit more shape so that it's not too flat, so that it doesn't have any shape at all. We wanted to have some shape, and that was Hasbro's solution to get it to lay at least around him a little bit better. So it's not all bad. It's just, I don't know that it's an ideal solution for a cape. I feel like it could have been a little bit better had they done a plastic molded cape. Even though, of course, it would have been a little more restrictive on good old Lando here. But it's a nice looking figure for sure. We'll go ahead and take a closer look at the figure so you can see his head sculpt. It's glorious head sculpt right here. This is awesome. This is an awesome head sculpt. Probably one of the better ones we've gotten in the Vintage Collection. I think that it looks just like Billy D. There may be a slight issue with the head shape. I feel like maybe it is a little bit too maybe a little too wide, like at the bottom part of his jowls. But other than that, I feel like the likeness is spot on. That photo reel is dialed in on this figure. It really is. It looks excellent. The paint is excellent on his face, the eyes, everything looks super clean. So this is really neat looking. Really, really good looking. I'm really pleased with the way that he looks. From the side, perfect. It looks great from the side. The body is all new. I think that it is based off the digital assets for the Black Series figure. It just seems pretty obvious, like they just look very similar one to the other. Now the cape does come off. It is on an elastic sort of band right here, so you can sort of finagle that off of his head in order to take a better look at the figure. And again, just looks really nice proportions. And yeah, colors look great. Sculpting on it looks good. There's not a whole lot of washing or anything. There's no wipes or anything to add more highlights or add more shadows to him. You can see it's pretty flat, but it's exactly the way that it looked in the film. Sometimes they go overboard with adding more detail that doesn't really need to be there. So it's better that they use that money and invest it in better accessories, in better likenesses, things like that. So I think he looks really nice. The colors look spot on to me. In terms of articulation, he does have a ball joint here at the head, and you get some really nice movement with it. Here at the shoulders, you have insert molded joint. Same thing here at the elbows. You get a bit more than 90 degrees, so that is pretty nice. Here at the wrists, you have on the left a rotation. You have a hinge up. You have a hinge down. Here at the right hand, you get the same exact thing. Here at the torso in the midsection, you do have a ball hinge. It's a little bit limited. There's not a whole ton you can get out of that. There's no swivel at the waist. You do have those awesome joints that everybody adores on his hips. So, I mean, he does get the split, but you do have to kind of like rotate them in order to get him to go forward, and then you can bend him forward like that. So it takes a little bit of work, but it's not impossible. There are cuts at both of the thighs. He has a very nice bend here at the knee, so more than 90 degrees. His boots look great, by the way, and the boots also hinge down, they hinge up, and you can swivel them side to side. And I love the gloss on them too. Really nice, really sharp. So in the cape, again, from an aesthetic perspective, the colors look nice. It looks nice. It feels nice in my hands. It's got a black collar. It's got the blue on one side. It's got this pattern on the inner side, and you'll see where it is stitched right here at the bottom to create this hemline that it has on both sides. So Lando does come with a Rebel blaster. It is, very basic, but it looks nice. Got some nice paint to it, and he holds it just fine. You're not going to have any issues with him not holding it because he does position it really well. He's got a trigger finger, in fact, on his finger so that he can use it. He's also going to hold the blaster just fine with both hands. And yeah, overall, it is the definitive Lando Calrissian in his traditional Bespin outfit. I'm pretty happy with the figure. Again, the only nitpick I have is that the cape, I think maybe could have been done a little bit better. It looks good. It gets the job done, but it is a little bit hard to work with. And I just feel like there could have potentially been better options available. Other than that, this figure is a knockout. The likeness is incredible. And everything that this figure really, truly needs, it has it where it counts. All right, and I saved what for me is personally the most exciting for last. Now, like with Lando, the Emperor is one of my absolute favorite characters in all of Star Wars. He's just so good every time you see him. Doesn't matter if it's in the prequels, the original trilogy, the sequels, Ian McDiarmid is a master, and he is absolutely amazing as the Emperor. And I just love that he's still playing him after all this time. That's so cool. And yeah, it looks great, guys. I mean, this is something we've all been asking for. If you've been backing TVC and supporting 375, then, this is one that we all really wanted. It's an original 96, like some of the other ones we've looked at today, but this is the Emperor. It's the ultimate baddie in the universe, and we actually just got our first look at him very recently, so it's kind of wild that he's already in our collections. I like that. If they do that in the future, I'd be okay with that. That's just super cool. Yeah, so the card is gorgeous. I mean, it's a perfect recreation of the vintage look, and I just love the way he's got his finger up like that. That's really fun, and just awesome art. And look at the figure. This is exciting. I'm really excited about this. He's got the lightning. He's got everything. Yeah, so here at the back, this is VC 200. Hasbro just told us a matter of weeks ago that this was going to be VC 200, and he certainly is. There is the APC right there. And yeah, I'm really excited about this one, so let's go ahead and rip him out of the packaging. All right, guys, so here He is Sheev Palpatine, or let's just call him Palpatine because really, Palpatine. The Emperor is looking really good. These are the Emperor's new clothes, and they're not completely new. There's a lot of reuse going on with this figure, and we'll get into that in just a bit. But just looking at this one, based off his own merits, aesthetically, he looks good. There's always concerns with soft goods. They're oftentimes too billowy and puffy, and that's kind of a little bit the case here, but it's not horrendous. It definitely could have been a lot worse than it turned out to be. So I think that for the most part, he's looking pretty good. He is kind of looking down a little bit, so I'll see if I can manipulate his head a little bit in order to get him to look up some more. But maybe he's supposed to be looking down at Luke as he fries him with electricity. But he looks good. Like I said, there's a lot of reuse going on with this figure. So if you're expecting something from the ground up to be 100% brand new, like I was expecting, like I was hoping for, and a lot of people were kind of hoping for, you're not going to get that here because that's not what this figure is about. There's a lot of reuse going on here. And again, I don't think that's necessarily an entirely bad thing, but it's not the most ideal thing either. So yeah, let's go and talk about where the reuse comes from with this figure. So first things first, I want to talk about the date stamp that this figure has on his inner thigh. So the inner thigh says that the figure is from 2010. Okay, so that's when some of the oldest parts in this figure date back to. And that is true. The last time that we got this body, or most of this body, would have been back in 2012 when we got this version of the Emperor right here, or Darth Sidious to be more specific. So this is the Phantom Menace version of Darth Sidious right here. And as you can see, similar but different. They have definitely improved on the soft goods compared to this one. There are some similarities in the stitching patterns, but they are quite different. This new one definitely looks a lot better. It definitely looks a lot better. It's when you start getting into the parts of the figure that you will start to see all those similarities. So, for example, the hands on both of the figures are exactly the same. They're even in the same pose. The same is true for the other hand. You can see he's got like those two fingers up. So does this one. They got the bunny ear pose going on that hand. So same hands. The bodies from below the necks are essentially going to be the same. There is a difference here in terms of the belt. You will see that the new Palpatine has like a sash right there going around his waist. And the older one doesn't have that. He's got more of a tunic going on here, a plastic tunic, mixed media with a soft goods skirt underneath it. But if you look at the torso on that figure, it's going to be the same as what we have on this one. So same torso right there. Same thing with the legs. If you look at the legs are exactly the same. Same sculpt, same everything. Boots, all of that is the same. A little less glossy on the new one, but it's going to be the same exact sculpt. Now, when you get to the arms, this is where it gets a little interesting. The arms on the old one, you can see he's got a smooth bicep, and he's got more like, let's call it like a ribbed sort of look on his forearms. When you get to the new one, however, you will find that there is more texture going on the bicep than on the other one. And also the lower arms seem to be a little thinner. And you get a little bit more of a bend than you do with the older one. So there is some reworking going on between these two figures. All right, there is some reworking between the arms. Like just looking here at the lower arms, like you can see the difference in length. The new one has a longer lower arm than the old one does. Smaller joint as well. So the arms are retooled or reworked because they do look similar, but they're not. They're not the same. So anything else is basically reused. Sash is new. Soft goods are obviously new. And then he has this this plastic sculpted hood on the top. All right. So this is kind of a good thing because we were all concerned about what's it going to look like if it's soft goods. You can pull it off. All right. It does come off. You just kind of got to work it a little bit and you can get it off with a little bit of work. All right. So this is what you are left with. This very creepy monster-like Palpatine with that hair just kind of combed back. All right. And yeah, it looks creepy. Don't display this without the hood on. I mean, really, it's just ugly. And yeah, I mean, the face is good. I don't know that it's the best. I feel like it could have been
better. I mean, it's creepy, it's scary, it's like Palpatine. Like it just seems a little bit exaggerated to me. Almost like they kind of did a caricature of the character. So that is a bit of a concern that I have, but it looks good. It looks good. His teeth, maybe they should be a little more rotty looking, but his eyes look good. Very clean photoreal paint on them. Nice texturing. I also think that his skin tone is too like tan. I feel like it should be a little more like white, silvery, greenish. I know that they played with that a lot during the Evolutions days where they were using the Evolutions figure that this is kind of evolved from, so to speak. But yeah, it looks a lot better with the hood on. And even then it's not perfect. Now, what probably bugs me the most is that a few years back, during the Last Jedi Force Link 2.0 line, Hasbro released this Palpatine right here. It's more of a basic figure. It's like 5 POA. You know, it's not the kind of thing that anybody is crazy about, but I think just aesthetically speaking, it looks more like the Emperor than this thing does. I say thing, it's not a bad figure. It's just not... I feel like this is a case where they should have gone back and from the ground up reworked the figure. Like if they would have taken this and included super articulation with this figure, maybe you make some concessions by doing like the inner robe soft goods, right? So that he can sit. I think I would have been okay with that. Because just like the texturing on his robes are really good. Even like when you get into the sculpt of the face, I feel like the sculpt on the face on the Force Link one just looks more like Palpatine. It looks more film accurate. The paint's not the best, but the sculpt is definitely, in my opinion, better. Like this is more exaggerated, a little more cartoony. This looks more spot on. A little bit of paint, you'd go a long way with this figure here. So I kind of wish they would have adapted this for releasing this figure. Like even from the side, just like his pose, right? Like it just looks more like Palpatine's silhouette than this does. Maybe this is more premium with all the articulation. Maybe it's a better Palpatine, so to speak, but I don't think it's a more accurate Palpatine at all. It's less accurate. And that's just kind of unfortunate because I don't think we're ever going to get a better Palpatine than this at this point, since this was our golden opportunity to do it. And it didn't happen, so that really frustrates me beyond measure. But again, it's not all bad. It's just not quite as good as it could have been. So you do get Palpatine's cane, of course, and this is the exact same cane that comes with that Force Link 2.0 figure. And you also get some lightning hands, right? So these lightning hands are the same ones that also came with the Force Link 2.0 figure. The difference is that it's colored a little differently. Like the lightning is a little more like an icy blue. Compared to the previous one, which are a little deeper. And then the hands have additional paint detail on them, as you can see. His fingers are red. Definitely looks like he's been blasting energy out of his hands. They look burned. Yeah. Don't shoot lightning out of your hands, folks. Not the best thing you can do for your health. All right, so to pop the hands out, you're just going to wriggle them out. Wriggle. And then you are going to place the lightning hand in. Okay, just like that. And you're going to do the same thing with the other side. Just go ahead and pull it out, grab the lightning hand and stick the lightning hand in just like this, and wazam, shazam, vizam. Now you can electrocute your enemies like Palpatine. So yeah, this is man, those sleeves are really billowy. You really got to play with the soft goods on this in order to get it to look a little more natural. So in terms of the articulation, as you guys saw, there is a ball joint here at the head, so you can go up and down. When you have the hood on, it is a little more restricted, but you can still go sideways. You can go ever so slightly up and ever so slightly down, not a ton. There are insert molded joints at both of the shoulders, same thing at the elbows. Like I said, since they are brand new arms, or at least modified arms, you are going to get a little bit more of a bend than this body, or most of the body, had previously. The wrists are still going to be on swivels, so nothing new there. There is a twist here at the torso. Both of his hips are going to go forward. There's no ball joint or anything like that, no insert molded connection, so it's just going to go straight. You do have an insert molded joint here at the knee, and then here at the ankle, you also have that swivel up and down. You can rotate side to side. So par for the course, especially since it does utilize this body that we've already seen before.
So yeah, I think it looks pretty good with the lightning hands in. I think that they're vibrant. I think that the lightning hands really reinforce the face sculpt. Whereas with this, it just looks like he's leaving the restaurant angry because they forgot to put diced onion on his omelet. Either way, in a time where we're getting fewer and fewer accessories, it is really nice that Palpatine has some great display options. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the latest round of Star Wars, the Vintage Collection. I am jazzed about how awesome this wave is, you guys. Every time a wave of Vintage Collection figures comes out, I say, hey, this is the best wave of the year. I thought the last wave with Ahsoka and Maul was the best wave of the year, but this definitely takes the cake. And that's one of the cool things about the Vintage Collection is that even though it got off to a rocky start back in 2018 when it came back, it's gradually become better and better. When each release builds upon the previous release and makes strides in engineering and likenesses and detail and quality, those are signs of a healthy line. The Vintage Collection is doing well. I'm really excited about where things go from here. This is really one heck of a wave, and you're missing out by not collecting these figures. I know they're not widespread yet. I also have an order online for a sealed case of these, so I'm going to be getting more of them for sure. Even if you're just an opener and don't care about the carded samples, these are good to double up on, honestly. I'll probably be picking them up multiple times over just based on how great these figures are. As far as the best figure in the wave, it's tough, but I would probably say that it's IG-11. There is just so much going on with this figure that is so well done. The engineering is quite a marvel. The level of detail, both sculpted and painted, is exquisite. Fantastic figure. That is definitely a contender for Vintage Collection Figure of the Year. Not to take anything away from Lando, because Lando is a very sorely needed update that we finally have. Other than a few gripes with the cape, I don't see them doing a better Lando in this outfit ever again. Palpatine is a little bit of a misstep for me because although I like the figure for what it is, I kind of don't like it for what it's not. It could have been better. It could have been a brand new figure from the ground up. Definitive ultimate Palpatine. I don't feel like it's that, and that's such a bummer for me because I don't know that we'll get another opportunity for that in the future. Teebo is great. If you're collecting Ewoks, and even if you're not, Teebo is great. Just the interchangeable parts, the two different looks, all the accessories. That's a great figure too. Solid wave, but I would have to say that IG-11 is probably the surprise standout for me. I thought it was going to be Lando. It's actually IG-11, but they're all great. And again, stunning, superb, excellent wave. Kudos to Hasbro. Thank you for giving us this awesome wave of Vintage Collection. Remember to back TVC, save 375, vote for Velkin, time for Tonica, all that stuff. Let's keep the momentum going, guys. Let's keep supporting and cheering for the Vintage Collection success. And that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check me out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Check out the Vintage Collection podcast and Cantina Chatter podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, be well, collect them all, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.